So now the second page in maxim 1. Now the time when the external heat begins to subside, yielding place for the cooler effects to settle in, or the meeting point of the two, is known as Sandhigati. And this in the opinion of the Mahatmas is the best time suited for the practice of Sandhya and Upasana. So the meeting point between the day and night, that is called as Sandhigati. And it is best suited for the practice of Sandhya and Upasana. In other words, worship. This is the time of the advent of that which is opposed to heat, and it can be that alone which existed prior to the generation of heat at the time of creation, which is in close conformity with nature. Or, in other words, the very image of the ultimate state we have finally to arrive at. Thus, the point we start from is the very point which corresponds closely with the destination. So, what was there prior to the onset of heat at the start of creation? It was the ultimate. And that's where we have to go. So, in other words, we start at the point where we are supposed to come in the end. Did you catch the subtle point there? Bharat, did you catch the point that what Babuji is saying is that what was there prior to the generation of the heat? That which was opposed to heat. What was that which was opposed to heat? That can only be that which existed prior to the generation of the heat at the time of creation and which is in close conformity with nature. In other words, it's the very image of the ultimate, which is the destiny that we have to arrive at. So it closely mimics the conditions of the ultimate. When these two, what is there in the ultimate? Perfect moderation. Now, when you have that Sandhigati or Sandhya Kala, you have perfect moderation. Neither it is too cool nor it is too hot. It's kind of in balance. So, moderation and balance. Now, that is the state that we have to arrive at in the ultimate. So, this particular time mimics that time. So when you start doing meditation at that time, you start gradually imbibing the effect of that. That's why most of the people have talked about this particular time as being very auspicious for the meditation, for the puja. In fact, in many places, apart from meditation, there are many houses traditionally where they actually get up before sunrise, have the bath, and then start doing the worship of the god before sunrise. And then they go on to do the Tulsi Puja also around the time of sunrise. So it kind of coincides with that. So whether it's meditation or worship, it is both the same in terms of the timing. They used to match the timing. The point is, you do an activity where you can get maximum benefit out of that activity. That's the whole point of it. Of course, you can do the same activity at other times also, but you try to time it in such a way that you can derive maximum benefit. Okay, so all these things that he is now talking about is how to do things to derive the maximum benefit as far as our spiritual journey is concerned. That's what he describes in 10 maxims. How to lead a life in such a way that every aspect of life becomes conducive for our spiritual journey. We go on modifying because we have to live the life in the world. Babuji is not asking you to escape to forest. That being the case, if you are going to lead the life here, how to lead the life while being conducive to spiritual journey? That is what he actually describes through the 10 maxims. Okay, shall we move on? Everyone is very quiet. No facial expression also. Huh? ಈಗ ಒಂಚೂರು ಫೇಶಿಯಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಷನ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೇಸೋಲೇಬಿಯಲ್ ಫೋಲ್ಡ್ ಓಪನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. This is called as the nasolabial fold. So if somebody is smiling, this will be very prominent. If somebody is very serious, this will be flat. So can you see the nasolabial fold? It just folds here. Ah. ನಿಂದು ನೇಸೋಲೇಬಿಯಲ್ ಫೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮೀಸೆ ಮೇಲ್ಗಣ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಹುಡುಕ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಆಯ್ತು ಫಾರ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಒನ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಬೌವ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದ ಲಿಪ್ಸ್ ಕಮ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದ ನೇಸೋಲೇಬಿಯಲ್ ಫೋಲ್ಡ್ ಈಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ನೋಸ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ನೋಸ್ ದೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಟು ಹಿಯರ್ ಓಕೆ importance is also given to Sandhya at the time of noon. But in that case, the power is utilized in a different way. The sun's rays are quite direct at the time, causing greater heat. Nature's eternal heat, which proceeds from the origin, is also attached with it. Underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಗೋಪಾಲ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಯಾಕೆ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಧ್ಯಾನ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಇವಾಗ ವೈ ಡು ಸಿಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ಮೆಡಿಟೇಟ್ ಸಿ ದ ಸನ್ಸ್ ರೇಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕ್ವೈಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ಟೈಮ್ ಕಾಸಿಂಗ್ ಗ್ರೇಟರ್ ಹೀಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ನೋನ್ ಬಟ್ ನೇಚರ್ಸ್ ಎಟರ್ನಲ್ ಹೀಟ್ which proceeds from the origin is also attached with it. So if you sit in the sun and meditate, you get both the heats. Thus, indirectly, we connect ourselves with the ultimate power through the medium of the material heat and secure closeness with it. So we use the sun's heat to connect to the heat coming from the origin. It's not a direct connection, but it's an indirect connection. Through the sun's heat, we connect to the ultimate heat or the heat coming from the origin. This continues till the time when the heat begins to subside and we draw the fullest benefit thereof. Now, the time that follows will enable us to have the taste of the condition which comes next, helping us to acquire still further closeness. The sages have advised Sandhya at noon time too. The reason is that by continuous influence, the sun's rays get connected with the plane wherefrom they have originated and which is next to the ultimate. Since the rays of suns are closest to the perpendicular at noon, the effect brought about by them is more direct owing to the nearness. So the sun is directly above, so we are closest to the sun in the afternoon. But the sun is also kind of connected to the heat which is coming from the origin. So the sun's heat delivers the heat from the origin in the fastest way in the afternoon. So that's why Daji writes in Heartfulness way that the meditation in the afternoon is like rocket speed. It happens pretty fast. You are able to go deeper at a very fast rate. But it's for each one because at 12 o'clock you don't know what you are doing. Different people might be doing different things, no? So sister might be cooking for the afternoon. Ganesh might be writing some program for the day. Bharat might be resting after doing all the chores of yoga and meditation at Khana. And our Gopal Krishna will be having chapati with Shikarani. So each one is doing different things. So what to do then? We forget about the sunlight. Nobody likes the direct sunlight. How many people like direct sunrays at 12 o'clock? Not many people, no? Nowadays, though, people don't want to go in the sun only. They're always homebound. And they like the movie Home Alone. They're homebound and they like Home Alone and then turn on that Home Alone and watch it. That's it. And to make it easier for you, they have made part 1 and 2 and 3. So you can have choice. ಸರಿನಾ ಸೊ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ Daji used to meditate in the afternoon. That was his favorite time. Maybe it's quite possible that at 12 o'clock, not many patients used to come to the pharmacy. Daji was running a pharmacy, no? So maybe 12 o'clock is the time when not many people will come. So he used to sit for meditation at that time. So we have to work out the time that is conducive for us. Okay? ಇದರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ ವೈ ದ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ನೂನ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಈಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ಫುಲ್ ದ ಸನ್ಸ್ ರೇಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಅಬೌವ್ ಪರ್ಪೆಂಡಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ above us. We are in close conformity with the sun's rays. Nearness is there. But the sun is also bringing the heat of the ultimate. So, in other words, we get the heat of the ultimate in the closest possible way in the afternoon. The heat which seems to be coming from the sun is in fact the heat of the particles. So now he is differentiating between the heat of the sun and the heat of the ultimate. The heat which comes from the sun is in fact the heat of the particles. Thus, if we meditate at noon, our thoughts gets unconsciously connected to the center or the ultimate. You remember in the previous page, in the first page, we read about the particles got it heated up. Yesterday, we were talking about the particles started getting heated up. Initially, that was the first phase. A latent thought came into action and the subtlest particles got it heated up. Yesterday, we read about that, no? So now he's talking about the sun's rays. The heat which seems to be coming from the sun is in fact the heat of the particles. What particles? The particles which got heated up at the origin, at the time of creation. You got the point? So he's connecting this heat with that heat, the particle heat. Okay? Now, putting it in a different way, I may say that in order to solve a problem, we often assume the answer first. This is the principle in algebra. In algebra, for everything we assume x, no? Let the answer be x. And then we try to solve for the answer. Right? That's what we do in algebra, no? We assume the answer as x. Likewise, that's what Babuji is saying. Putting it in a different way, I may say that in order to solve a problem, we often assume the answer first. Similarly, in order to solve the problem of life, we assume the very first thing, very real thing first. However hazy it may be to our view, because on arriving at the last phase, the cognizance of the previous one is often lost. In other words, by the time we come to the answer x is equal to so and so, we've got the answer. Now we forget the x. We don't remember the x. X is an aid to help solve the problem. That's all. Likewise, the to solve the problem of the life, we assume the very real thing first. Assume the real thing. That is why we give supposition at the start of the meditation. What is the supposition?
The suggestion we start with, the source of divine light. The suggestion we start with,
What is that?
there's a source of divine light.
See, we don't have any idea what is it. It's very hazy. But we assume that, we suppose that, and then based on that, we try to solve the problem, and eventually we'll work out what is that. It's like the idea, the suggestion that there is a source of divine light is like X. And then we work out the value of X eventually through meditation. It's like solving the problem of life. Does it make sense? That's what we are doing in the meditation. That's why I keep saying that you give this suggestion and sit. The mind will start looking for what is the source of divine light. What is this divine light? It search the system. If it finds an answer, it says it's there, here. See, this is the divine light. If the mind cannot find the answer, the mind will say, I have not found the answer, and it will keep quiet. Either way, we benefit. The mind will keep quiet. The moment you give the suggestion and wait for the mind to work through it. When the mind keeps quiet after having searched for the divine light, that creates the condition for the divine light to be experienced, to be felt. You know, Daji writes in Heartfulness Way, we feel the divine light. We don't see the divine light. We feel the divine light. And that feeling is now set on the stage of the mind keeping quiet after having searched the system. Okay? So now Babuji is writing about algebra. Assume x and then solve for x. So assume the source of divine light and then solve for the source of divine light. That's what we are doing. In this way, we utilize the excessive heat to our best advantage. So now he is linking this, trying to solve the problem with this. So we are using this excessive heat that is there in the afternoon as X in order to connect to the heat of the particles. Okay. But since the material heat at the time is also great, we do not treat Sandhya at noon to be compulsory in our system. So we don't insist on it. But if you want to do it, you can do it. But we don't insist. So all traditional people will be very relieved when we say you don't need to do Madhyanika Sandhya Vandana, they'll be very happy. Right? During the time that follows, the heat of the sun begins to gradually subside. In other words, we begin to advance towards coolness till we reach the point where both the heat and coolness are at par. And this is the evening time which is fixed for the practice of Sandhya. It helps us to derive the full benefit of the time, getting more closely attached with the coolness of the hour. As the time advances further, we go on getting closer and closer to greater coolness. Finally, we reach the point where we are the closest to it, and this is the time of dawn. The sun's rays have their least influence at this time. It is a scientific principle upon which the division of the timings of puja and sandhya is based in accordance with the natural effect of the time. So time prakara, if you that's why you utilize the time in nature to derive the best benefit. சரிங்களா? Again, when the coolness is not dominating or the heat of the sun has come down substantially, when they are at junction at dawn, you again do the third sandhya. A question now arises as to why sandhya has been fixed only at the times of sattva and tamas and not at the time of rajas. So the morning sandhya is called as sattva, the evening sandhya is called as tamas, and the afternoon uh, sandhya is called as rajas. The principles of invertendo is well known to everybody. If both the terminals are taken into account, the beginning and the end, the beginning is the sat and the end is the tam. Inverting them, we get the reverse. The beginning becomes the end and vice versa. The middle in both the case remains the same, or in other words, a hypothetical line which connects the two ends. In other words, it doesn't change. So for that reason, the principles of invertendo, we don't insist on the afternoon sandhya, which is related to the rajas. I now reveal herein the true significance of the little known mystery. Generally, people consider Sat to be the reality and treat it as a yardstick for measuring the knowledge of God. The mystery at the bottom is quite unknown to them. The fact is that this it is all the sphere of thumb and thumb alone. So the sphere of God is the state of thumb alone, not uh, Sat. This is the only thing worth achieving for a true yogi. It is no doubt very difficult to gain access up to this point. To acquire Sat is very easy job, but the state termed as Sat cannot be so easily attained. There is nothing beyond it. Though generally people talk a good deal about it, few amongst them even attempt to secure approach up to it. Even purity, simplicity, and peace are not there. It is in fact beyond all of them. Purity, simplicity, and peace dominates at the 12th point. So you have to cross the 12th point in order to enter into the state of thumb. This is the very thing which, if acquired after persistent labor through several lives, I can boldly assert that even the greatest saints of the world have remained short of the mark in this respect. The state of negation which one craves for and which is the real life abides in it, and all activity cease before one reaches the point. So, what is there in the state of thumb? A state of negation. And that is the basis for real life. When we say that state of negation, we have disentangled from ourselves from the body consciousness, mind consciousness, and the soul consciousness. When all the three are gone, when we still exist, that is the state of negation. In the end, the idea about the existence also gradually melts away. So the state of negation is when we have crossed the body consciousness, mind consciousness, and the soul consciousness. That is the state of the negation. You are just there. Okay. In other words, you are just there at the level of existence. Then the last part of the journey through the central region is when you go beyond the existence to the higher state where even the awareness of the existence is now gone. When the awareness of the existence is also gone, then you are said to be established in the state of Tam fully. Okay? And then you start the real life. After having established in the state of Tam, where the idea of the state of negation peaks. In other words, in spirituality, it's not that the awareness heightens. Awareness gradually gives way to unawareness or naturalness in the peak. So you establish yourself in the natural state of negation, so to say, without having awareness of that. Then the real life starts for any individual. This is the divine mystery which is revealed today. It is the central point of the real state of being, which is most case remain unattained in spite of all the efforts of pursuer. Perception has no approach up to it. So it's a super conscious perception, not a normal perception. It is called a super conscious perception because it's beyond the consciousness. A better word would be a beyond consciousness perception. So what traditionally people use the word is super conscious perception. So we can have the vision of the absolute by the super conscious perception, not by the normal vision. So in Mahabharata, uh, Krishna gives Arjuna special eyes to see him. And that is the special super conscious perception. We think that, oh, Arjuna was given special eyes, so some spectacle was given. So all the three of you who are now here, we say that, sir, we've already got the spectacle, so no problem. We don't require any special eyes. Any special means, we've already got it. So this is not the external vision. He is giving a internal vision, a inner eye that can perceive something which a normal eyes cannot perceive. So this is called as super conscious perception. Okay, and don't relate this word super consciousness to super consciousness that we read. Consciousness, super consciousness, and subconsciousness. You remember? So we divide, no, consciousness, subconscious, and superconscious. Don't confuse with that. This is something different. In many spiritual descriptions, there is lack of words to accurately describe it. So it is super conscious perception. In other words, it's beyond normal perception, beyond the range of normal perception. Yeah. So when the Babaji says perception has no approach to it, what he is meaning is that the normal perception has no approach to it. But superconscious perception is still there based on the fact that you have crossed beyond the realm of the consciousness. That is what happens. People tend to consider this state of thumb as their deadliest enemy. But if you ever happen to study a person in whom this state of complete ignorance is reigning in full swing, you will find that at the highest pitch of advancement, he, like an infant baby, has no awareness of his own condition. Underline that. He's become like an infant baby, a baby just born. But if a slight touch of sat is applied to it, he will then begin to have cognizance of the state of thumb. This is due to the fact that the merging point of the two leads to the creation of a new state, identical with that which was the basis of creation. Now the principles of invertendo applies in this case too. So this person is kind of sitting in one corner as if he doesn't know anything, totally ignorant. If you apply a state of sat, a bit of touch of sat, how to apply that? Ask a question, seek some clarification on the spiritual journey. Then they will open up. Like they will open up because of the fact that when the thumb and the Sat, they come together, they touch each other, a new state is created. And it is the new state which was very similar to the state of the creation, at the start of creation. Okay? Now, if you do not ask anything to these people, they'll just be quiet because they are established in the state of unawareness. Like an infant baby does not do anything. It's just lying on the bed all the time and sleeping. The only difference is that these people are not sleeping. They are sleeping as far as the world is concerned. They are awake internally, fully, all the time. Right? So you have to draw their attention towards the world by asking something or by seeking something. Then they suddenly become aware of their existence in the world and they actually answer you. Okay? So those people who like sleep, they'll say, ah, such a nice state. Sleeping all the time. Whatever. Who would not want that kind of a state? You can sleep 24 hours. But the beauty is that you are not sleeping on the bed. You are there in the world, but you are asleep to the world. You are totally awake to the internal world. So simultaneously, you are in Yoga Nidra. You're totally asleep to the external world, but aware to the internal world. So you are in a permanent state of Yoga Nidra. So those people who love Nidra can try to achieve this. And I know that there are quite a few of us here in this group. Each one of us love our Nidra. See, Bharat has escaped to do Nidra.
No, no, sir. I'm here. I turned off my camera.
ಯಾಕೆ ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ವಾ?
ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಹೊರಗೆ ಕುಂತಿದ್ದೆ ಸರ್. ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಅವರು ಸಿಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಡಕ್ ಬಂದಾರ ಸರ್. ಸೊ ನಾ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಒಳಗೆ.
ನೀ ಸಿಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ತಗೊಳ್ತಾ ಕ್ಯಾಮ್ರಾ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ಯಾ? ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ?
ಅಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಂದಿ ಸಿಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ತಗೊಳಕ್ ಬಂದಾರ ಸರ್. ನಾ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಒಳಗೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೆ ಸರ್.
ಅಲ್ಲ ನಿನ್ ಸಿಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ತಾನೆ?
ನಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಮಂದಿ ಬಂದ್ರ ಸರ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾ
ಹಾ,
ಜಾಗ.
ಮಂದಿ ಬಂದ್ರಾ? ಓಕೆ
ಹಾ.
ಓಕೆ, ಮಂದಿ ಬಂದ್ರಾ? ಮಂದಿ ಬಂದ್ರು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನಾರ್ತ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಭಾಷೆ ಅದು. ಜನ ಬಂದ್ರು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಸೌತ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲೇ ಜನ ಬಂದ್ರು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕ್ಯಾಮ್ರಾ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ನೀವು ಮಂದಿ ಬಂದ್ರು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಪ್ಯೂರ್ ನಾರ್ತ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸಿ ನಾವು both are used to deliver the same meaning. You will catch the right meaning provided you have a feel of the meaning, feel of what he said. In normal conversation, you can convey the same thing in many different words. If you are actually able to feel what they are trying to convey, the words do not matter. Whether you say Mandi Bandru or Jana Bandru, it's the same. Words are different, but what you actually convey, the feeling meaning is the same. Alva? So in other languages, you might say Log aaye hain. What do you say in Tamil? Romba neriya mandi vandirkar. Is mandi only or what is it?
మనిష
Oh, romba neriya manusharu vandirkar. Correct?
మనుషులు తెలుగు మనుషులు
Manushulu in Telugu. Okay. But what do you say in Telugu?
మనుషులు
The full thing, many people have come.
చాలా మనుషులు వచ్చారు. చాలా
చాలా మంది వచ్చారు.
చాలా మనుషులు వచ్చారు.
చాలా చాలా మనుషులు వచ్చారు.
వచ్చారు వచ్చినారు.
So, see, the words are different, but the feeling meaning is the same. So when we say that we understand something, what we mean is not just literally at the word level. We are trying to grasp it at the level of the feeling. Then we say we understand something. Okay? So because of Bharat turning off the camera, we had all this discussion today. So we should be very thankful to Bharat.
Actually, we are making use of it, but we are unaware of it.
Exactly. Every day we are making use of it. And it is this awareness about the feeling meaning that actually helps us go deeper in spirituality. We have to learn to feel the meaning of what is conveyed. Sometimes we get entangled in the word, but we need to go towards the meaning of the sense of the meaning that is behind the words. That helps us actually catch the right essence. Okay. And then beyond that is the vibrational meaning of the word. So feeling also has something. Oh, we feel understood. But there is the third level, which is the Valartha or the inner meaning. And that is the vibrational level. Now, that doesn't mean to say that we start vibrating in the chairs that we are sitting. Can you hear the noise of Bharat's vibration? Since we can't see, we have to feel his vibration now. When we can't see, when we can't hear, we have to feel the vibration. Because there is no spoken word, no? When the person is not visible, when the person is not able to speak, then the only way that we can actually feel that person is through vibrations. You cannot see, you cannot hear. Then how to grasp it? It is through the sense of vibration. Right? So, in some of these kung fu movies, you listen to the vibrations, you feel the vibrations. So, they teach you how to fight blindfolded. Either you can depend on the words, if they don't make any noise, then you have to depend on the feeling of vibration before you fight. So, these are there. If you want to watch some movie of that kind, there's a movie called as Karate Kid. Okay. This Gopal Krishna will be thinking, "Arey, how many movies he watches?